Maseches Bavacham Dafit Gimel Amud Beis. Today's official Amud is Yudalad Amud Aleph, but we are still in Gimel Amud Beis in the two dots. This year is for that Salah of all the people, Salah of all the people in the Florida tragedy. Shem Yazol, that somehow they should be found alive. What? Every time at the end of this year, we'll talk about it also. Let's just start now. We're starting late because we're done with Tammuz. Not a happy day, but let's try and bring Mashiach with our Torah. Lilu Nishmat Sabi Meir Menachem Ben Akiva, Solo Bas Moshe Tzila Bas Ben Tzion, Us Bas Shalom. Roshus Anizak V'Amazik. I highly recommend that at some point soon you turn to Tes Amud Beis to the Mishnah. If you can flip back, not right now, but sort of have your finger in Tes Amud Beis, yeah, because we are now relating to the Mishnah, which is in Tes Amud Beis, okay? And pretty soon, let's start with the Mishnah and then start the Gemara where we're supposed to be. At the very end of the Mishnah, Tes Amud Beis, at the top of the page, the Mishnah says, Bechol Mokom, there are three statements at the end of the Mishnah. It says, Bechol Mokom, Chutz Moshus Miuchedes Lamazik, yeah, which means a person is chayiv on damage done by his property everywhere, except for Shus Miuchedes Lamazik. What does that mean? A domain which is exclusively the mazik's. If the mazik has something, you came to the mazik's house and the damage of the bull, let's say, or something happened in the mazik's house, the mazik can tell you, excuse me, mister, I'm not paying you nothing. Why? Because, what do we say? My voice. What is your toe? What does your bull do in my possession, in my domain, in my house? Nobody invited him. You're surprised that my dog bit him? Who told him to come? So then we already dealt with previous year. Now let's see the very last three statements. Yeah. Then we say the second statement is Oshus Anizak V'Amazik. What that means we're going to see soon. Oshus Anizak V'Amazik is going to be today's topic, a domain which is common to both Mazik and Nizak. Yeah. What happens if you have a place which is shutfus? You have a place, you have a courtyard, the chotzel, where both Mazik and Nizak, both of them own it, and then one of them damaged the other. What do you say then? That's going to be the topic today. Do we say it's considered like the shus of the Nizak? Because at the end of the day, the Nizak has the right to be there. Or do you say no, it's like Rishus Harabim, because they're both allowed to be there equally. So maybe it's a Rishus Harabim. Who cares if it's the house of the Nizak or Rishus Harabim anyways? Shen Regel. Shen Regel in the street, in a common place, in a public place. Shen Regel, what about it? We say, what's the problem? Shen Regel, the behemoth is not mechuyev to pay. But She'en Ken, when it comes to Rishus Nizak, then yes, Rishus Nizak, the domain of the damaged one, he has to pay. So we don't know what that means. And then the last statement, Shehizik Chav Mazik, when there was damage caused, then the Mazik, he's obligated L'Shalem to Shlum Nezek, the Metav Oretz, the Mazik supposed to pay, yeah, with good money for damage caused, yeah. So then the question is, this statement is redundant. The very, very last statement of the Mishnah is redundant. Why? Because we already said it at the beginning of the Mishnah, of the first Mishnah, in Daf Beis Amud Aleph. The fact that the damaging party has to pay and pay with the best of the best, we already know that. It's not a chiddush. So we have three statements. Statement number one is, in the case of damage done in the house of the mazik is exempt. The mazik can say, who invited you here? Yeah, there's a sign, dog biting, and who invited you anyways? Nobody asked you to come to me, you're coming to complain. Then came the statement about the common place, not the common place, as the common place, the common domain of both Mazik and Nizak. And then the third statement, which seems to be redundant, about the fact that the Mazik has to pay with the best of the money, with the best of the land. And that we have to understand. Let's go back to Yud, Gimel, Amud, Beis, to the base. And we are in the two dots, yeah, before the end of the narrow lines. Yeah, about 10 or so lines from the bottom of the narrow lines. Yeah, let's see. It says over there, Ushus and Nizak v'amazik. Ushus and Nizak v'amazik is a place where both Nizak and Mazik own, or both of them rented. They're both allowed to be there with their possessions, the Nizak and the Mazik. Omar Rav Chisda Omar Avimi. We're going to say Machloikis now. Omar Rav Chisda Omar Avimi. Rav Chisda on behalf of Avimi says, Chotzer Shutfin Chayev ba al Shen ve'al Regel. A Chotzer of Shutfin, a common place, a place that is owned by both Mazik and Nizak. Shen and Regel are Chayev, meaning he views this place of common ownership as if it's exclusively belonging to the Nizak. At the end of the day, we're going to see more svaros later. At the end of the day, this is a place where the Nizak is supposed to be with his fruit. He's allowed to display his fruit over there in a private way. And if you brought your animal there and the animal trampled all over it or ate it, then you're chayav, which means we don't view it as a shus harabim, even though they're both allowed to be there. We view it as a shus nizak, and therefore the shen and the regel are chayev. If it was a shus harabim, it would be potter. Remember the pasuk? V'shilach es be'iroi u'bir b'snei acher. If the person sent off his animals and they trampled or they ate into someone else's field, then we say chayev. But if they ate or they trampled in the street, they're potter. Says Rav Chisda, that's not the street, that's a private place. It's not exclusively private, it's commonly shared. But at the end of the day, it's private enough to be called Roshus and Nizak, and therefore you better pay for Shen and Regel, buddy. Now, how is he going to read the Mishnah? Now he's going to read the Mishnah like that. How is he going to organize the last three statements in the Mishnah? Chutz milshus miyuchedes lamazik de potu. The first statement of the three is what? A domain exclusively owned by the mazik, of course, potter. Nobody argues on that. Why? Who told you to come? Who told you to come? Roshus anizak ve'hamazik. You're chayev. In other words, Roshus anizak ve'hamazik, the common place, belongs to the last statement of the Mishnah. If you are a person whose animals damaged in a common place, Nizak Mazik place, then comes the third statement as a continuation and says, aha, you are chayev. Shehizik chava mazik, then in that case, you have to pay full money, full payment. Yeah, you have to pay in full with the best of the land. And that's a new piece of information that we didn't know before. The first Mishnah never spoke about that special thing of Nizak Mazik together, right? That's only now. So the second and third statement are connected. If you are in a private domain that's owned by both of you, then you have to pay with the best of your land. Very good. That's Rav Chisda. Remember, Rav Chisda Chayev, very easy. Chisda Chayev, Ches. Rav Lozo comes, Rav Lozo and argues, Rav Lozo Omar, Potu ala Shen ba'ala Regel. Rav Lozo says he's Potu on Shen and Regel. Rav Lozo says you Potu on both Shen and Regel. Why? Shen and Regel. No, because this is viewed as public. Of course, in the public domain, you're Potu on Shen and Regel. That's in the Torah. Nobody argues on that. Rav Lozo views the place that's owned by us equally, all egalitarian. Both Mazik and Nizak own it or share it or rented it together. We're going to see later all kinds of cases in a hotel, all kinds of things. And then his potter, he views it as Roshus Harabim. And we'll see later on the reasons. But he says, well, it's not exclusively yours. I'm allowed to be there as much as you're allowed to be there. My cow is allowed to step all over the place, just like you're allowed to display your fruit over there. And therefore I'm potter. How does he learn the Mishnah? How is he interpreting the Mishnah now with the last three statements? Baruch Hashem. He lumps the two first ones together. He says both a place which is only owned by the mazik, is potu, because who told you to be here? Nobody asked you to come to my house. And even in a place where both of us are invited with our animals and our everything, in our, at least in Havamin or whatever, with everything, we can have our animals there and our fruit over there and everything we can have there, also potu, because it's a Kashus Rabim. So the first two statements are connected. They're both potu for different reasons, but the potu, both of them. Now comes the third statement. Keren. Whoa. The last statement, which remains orphaned, the last statement is now something redundant. Because stam to tell me that in general, that a mazik is mechuyev to pay the nizak and pay with the best of his land, that's old hats. We know that already. What's the chiddush? Comes and he says, Latui keren. It comes to tell me that keren also is, a person is chayiv for damages of keren. Now, the question is, what's the chiddush of keren? Why is keren all of a sudden jumping over here? For that, before we continue, I want to remind you of Machloikes Rav Shmuel. This is good chazorah. What did we say about the two ovois nezik? And let's see if you remember. It's a test. Let's see if you make 100. What happens with the two ovois nezikin called shor and mave? Shor and mave. There was Machloikes Rav Shmuel. Shor and mave. According to Shmuel, good. Look. It's an open book test, yeah? According to Shmuel, what? Of course you chayiv. But what does it mean, shor? What does mave mean? What does shor mean? What does mave? Word weird, mave. Remember what mave meant? Either shen, according to Shmuel, or according to Rav, meant you guys rock. In other words, we have very nice. We say like this. According to Shmuel, shor meant regel, not all derivatives of shor, just regel. And shen meant, and mave was shen, because mave is something that's uncovered, sometimes like the tooth. That was Shmuel. So according to Shmuel, we didn't yet learn that a person is chayav on keren. Funnily enough, the first Mishnah didn't yet deal with keren. It somehow kept it for the very end, because keren is also different to everybody else, because keren is tam. Keren at the beginning, we expect the animal not to behave that way. So because of that, shen and regel are mentioned. Now comes the second Mishnah at the end to tell me about keren. So, frag the Gemara. Shmuel. According to Shmuel, that's great. Very, very good. The last statement of the Mishnah, which remained, so to speak, orphaned, empty, redundant, what do we put there? We insert keren. Very good. Rav, but Rav said differently. What did Rav say? The Oma, we're reading in the last narrow line. Rav, the Oma, tana show, v'chol mili de show. According to Rav, the word show in the Mishnah was kol mili de show. What's kol mili de show? All issues, all topics of show, which are what? Shen, regel, and keren. Of course, very good. So according to Rav, show includes everything. And what's mave, according to Rav? A person. If so, according to Rav, there are no ovis melocha, there are no ovis nezikin that are left untouched, uncovered. They're all dealt with in the first Mishnah already. If so, the question arises again, according to Rav. Chava mazik latuye mai. What does that last statement come to include? I know already the person is chayav for his nezikin at that stage of Avakama. What does it come to include? Answers the Gemara, a whole new world, a whole new case. Yeah, Latui Mai, Latui the following case. Latui Hodetono Abonon, the first white line. Shehizik Chava Mazik. The Mishnah said the statement, Shehizik, when a person damaged, he owes, he has to, he's obligated to pay with the best. You know what kind of cases is coming to include. Lahavi, to bring in the case. Welcome back to the four shoymrim. The four types of shoymrim. Shezika behema bilshusan, a behema damaged in their domain. You know what happens then? Tam mishalem chatzi nezek, umuad mishalem nezek sholem. If it's tam, he pays half a nezek. Umuad pays full nezek. By keren, if they did something maliciously, nifratza balayla. However, let's say the person tried to guard the animal, and yet in the middle of the night, it managed to break away the, maybe people did it, and they broke the chains or the door of the cow shed, wherever it was, he had the stable, wherever, or shapatzu alistin, or thieves came in the middle of the day. These are robbers. People are very audacious. They come and they broke in. The animal went and damaged potu. Now, if you don't understand the last few statements, you're in very good company. Basically, we're saying something here about a shoymel, person who's supposed to guard someone else's animal, right? And there was some kind of damage done by the animal. which is now guarded by, let's say, the shoel. Now the shoel has to pay. He has to pay full nezek if it's a muad animal, half a nezek if it's tam, and unless it's an oines, unless it's some kind of, something completely out of control, then he's potur. Now we're entering, and soon the Gemara is going to explain exactly what happened, which animal did what to who, and who exactly is chayiv. Who is the one chayiv over here? Generally speaking, before we continue to explain this following the statement now, you have to understand that this is the first time in Bava Kama where we ask a very interesting question. We're combining here Bava Kama and Bava Metzia. We're saying like this. Up until now, we always speak about the Dalit Shoimrim as though they're supposed to guard the object given to them to look after. Yeah, you're supposed to look after my fancy candlesticks, and they broke, they melted, they were stolen, something happened, I don't know, something collapsed on their head, whatever, something happened to them. I brought you my cow, and what happened? My cow is now sad. The cow is stolen, the cow is now, I don't know, damaged. What happened to my cow? Pay me. How much do they have to pay? Which cases do they have to pay? That varies between Shemachinam, which is only in real bad, severe pshia, and Shoyal, which is chayv on everything. But now the question is a new question. What happens if a Shemachinam or any of the four are supposed to guard an animal, and the animal damaged other things? Get that? That's the first time we're asking the question. What happens if I guard someone else's animal, and I guard it very well that no harm should be done to the animal, because that's what they taught me in Kita Dalid and all my life. That if I'm a shomer, ex, chinam, shol, sochor, or shoyel, whatever, chinam, sochor, I have to make sure that the animal are treated with, kids' gloves, excuse the pun, whatever the kid, the animal, and I know to make sure not anything shouldn't be done to it. What happens if the damage was done but was caused by the animal? What happens then? Is the shoyel also chayiv? The assumption is yes. Let's talk about shoyel, because shoyel is the one which is the most extreme and easy case to understand. Shoyel is chayiv on everything. The assumption is that if a shoyel gets the animal and is supposed to guard the animal from damage, is also supposed to equally accept the shmira that the animal should not cause damage to other animals or other objects. So because he's responsible is responsible all the way. And if you, Mr. Shoyel, you borrow the cow because you need to plow your field, which is, that's a normal case. Just like you're supposed to guard the animal from damage, make sure the animal doesn't cause damage to others. And if you do, you pay them, not the owner. The owner would say, what do you want for my life? I wasn't in charge at that time. At the time of the Negicha, who was in charge? The shoyel. Go to Mr. Shoyel and he'll pay you. How much does the shoyel have to pay? That's between the shoyel and the other party. Okay? Now comes the Mishnah and explains the following statement in light of what I just told you. Omel Mal, fourth wide line. We repeat the statement in order to understand it. When a person damaged and he's mechuyav, he's obligated to pay. Lahovi, that comes to include, that's a chidush of the last statement. It doesn't stay like that empty. There's a big chidush over here. Lahovi, to bring in, to include shemachinam, v'ashoyel, v'sasocha, v'asoicha. Hechidami, what exactly is the case? What's the case? What's the story? Ilema, if the azke toiro de mashil, the toiro de shoyel. Let's say the show of the mashil, the show belonging to the lender, meaning the show that was now lent to the shoyel, the show that was lent, the show, let's call him Bully. Bully is the one that was given a few days ago from Reuven to Shimon, from Reuven the owner to Shimon the shoyel. What did Bully do? The Torah the shoyel, he bullied and he gored the show of the borrower, of the shoyel. Okay, so now who exactly are trying to who do you assume is going to pay now? Lei Malay, the Baal HaShow, the owner of the shore, which was borrowed, Bully's owner, should say, excuse me, you expecting me to pay you? Who's paying who? I, Reuven, the owner, supposed to pay you, Shimon the shoyel? Ridiculous. Ilu Azik Be'alma, let's say my Bully, which is now under your responsibility, if it would be Mazik, other people, Be'alma, he would have gored Pechachovsky's show. He would have gored someone else's show. Then by Slishlumi, you'd have to pay, not me. You'd have to deal with him. I wouldn't have to deal with him. You'd have to deal with him, right? You'd have to pay, not me. But now that it happens to be that my bull gored yours, the bully didn't bully other shvarim. He didn't go other shvarim. It happens to be that he gored yours. Ba'ina l'shlumi, I have to pay you. Mapitom, you have to pay yourself. In other words, there's no payment. It's like one of your shvarim gored the other, unless you have a very, very stupid question. What's the halacha? Yeah, that's beyond stupid, yeah? What's the halacha if my one shore of mine gored my other shore? What's a there's no court case, Tachtel versus Tachtel. What's the story here? Well, of course, educate him. I don't know what to do with him. It's your own internal business. Are you going to move the money from one pocket to the other pocket? It's you. Same thing over here. Of course, the bull is not owned by Shimon the Shoel, but Lemaisa, they're under his responsibility. So in that respect, what do you want from me? Me, the owner, I don't owe anything at all. The Shoel has two shvorim, one under his responsibility and one owned by him. One guard the other. It's your internal business. It's your financial thing, nothing to do with me. And for sure, I don't have to pay. So that cannot be possibly the case. Ella, must be it's a different case. What's the other case? The Azke Torah the Shoel, the case is, must be another case. The other way, the Azke Torah the Shoel Torah the Mashil. The bull of the Shoel, Shimon's bull, he's the one who gored the one of the Mashil. Yeah? Again, there's Reuven, the Mashil, the one who really owns bully. He gave bully to the trustworthy hands, or so he thought, of Shimon. And now the one of Shimon, that's anonymous shore. Yeah, anonymous, the one of Shimon, gored the one owned, the one of the owner, the one who was borrowed. Yeah, the regular one of the Shoel, one of his at-home, in-house bulls, gored the one of Reuven, gored the item that was borrowed, the borrowed show. Makes sense, of course, that he has to pay. Of course, the Shoel has to pay the Mashil. You know why he has to pay him? He has to pay him for two reasons. He has to pay him for two reasons, and it's important to know. First of all, because, can you just sharpen that? What means his reshus? He has to pay him.
Shimon reshus and Shimon Shar,
right,
had reshus, that was authorized to be obviously in his own reshus.
No, he's allowed to be there. Reuven's
Right, he's allowed to be there.
So why does he have to pay? He still has to pay regardless. By the way, keren has nothing to do with Oshusim, except for maybe unless it's exclusively the maziks. But even before that, you're basically saying that Shimon is an owner of a goring bull. Forget about you being a shoyel. Any owner of a bull that's gored has to pay the one that's being gored, the damage. That's classical bavakama, right? Oshut. Simple. Secondly, you also happen to be the borrower of bully. So if bully was damaged, you have to pay for two reasons. First, on both accounts, and therefore you have to pay, forget about how much, but first of all, you have to pay because you're an owner of a goring bull. Even if you're a complete stranger that just hailed here from California, you came here with your bull, Makesho, you have to pay. Secondly, my shore happens to be under your responsibility, and every shoyel who borrowed a drill or shoes or socks or jacket or phone or computer has to pay for everything. So you also have to pay mitzad debt, and therefore something here ain't working. It ain't working here. Why? He should tell him, the third line from the bottom. He should tell him, why only half? Ilu itzak me'alma. Had, let's say my bull would have been gored not by your shore, by someone else's shore, how much would you have to pay me? Let's say I come to you after a week of borrowing, the end of the borrowing term came, and you say, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Mashil owner, your shore was gored by someone, by Pechochovsky's shore. How much would the shoyel have to pay the Mashil? 100%. There's no chatzinezek there. A shoyel never pays chatzinezek, nothing to do with shoyel. I don't care how it happened. A shoyel is chayv even be'oines. If the drill fell off your hands or the robbers came, struck by lightning, you always have to pay the full drill. You also have to pay the full show. Hashta now, it happens to be that your shore is the one who gored it. You're getting away with murder. You only pay half? How could that be? In other words, the problem is not why he's paying. Why is he only paying half? You should pay in full. Mitzad the head of being the owner of the show, you should have, could have, would have paid only half. It's true. Your show is a cutie, tamale, only first time offense, second time offense, beauty, oxy, so nice, only half. But who cares? That's not where I'm coming from. I'm coming from the second offense, from the other hat you're wearing of what? Of a shoyel. The shoyel has to pay for anything that happened to an animal, regardless of it happened. I don't know, 3 thugs came with guns, you still have to pay, makesher, and therefore pay me in full. So why did the Brisa say that the person, which we assume is a shoyel, has to pay the mashil only half, pay in full? You're shoyel, for heaven's sake, to pay in full. That's the question. So far, this case is not resolved, and we don't have a good translation, so to speak, for the case. Yes, what's your question? And second line from the bottom. Le'olam the azketo the mashi le'tor the shoyel. We'll go back to the previous ukimta, and we'll say really the show of the mashil, the one borrowed, bully, the one that was borrowed by Shimon, he is the one that gored the one of the shoyel, and the mashil has to pay the shoyel. Wow. We're saying yes, the owner of the bull has to pay for the damage done to the shoyel's show. The show of the mashil, the one being borrowed, the guest. The guest show didn't feel at home. Yeah, he felt out of place, and he gored the at home, the one belonging to the shoyel in his house, and now the mashil has to pay the shoyel. And the question is why? We said, you shoyel, you're in charge of everything. It's like 2 of your bulls, one hit the other. So what's the story? Answers the Gemara, we're making a kimta. It's a chiddush. We're making your case. Shekibel all of Shmiras Gufoy. The shoyel only accepted half a shmira. He only accepted upon himself to look after the show that he should not be damaged by others. Veloi kibel all of Shmiras Nezokov. Wow. He did not accept upon himself to guard the show from damaging others. And that remained in the hands of the mashil. Let me explain. We have here a show. His name is Bully, of course. And he was borrowed, he was lent, whatever you say, from Reuven to Shimon. Says Shimon to Reuven, excuse me, Mr. Reuven, before we sign the contract, just I want to make sure that I'm looking after your shore very nicely. Nothing should happen to it. I'm going to make sure my dog stays away and the other cows, and I'm going to give them muster shmuz. I'm going to tell all my animals to behave nicely, and I'll make sure that no robbers come to my house today. Whatever, safety checks, but I'm not responsible for any damage done by your shore to others. That's not my responsibility. You know who's going to look after that? You. It stays within your responsibility. So now imagine your mind's eyes. There are 2 people watching there the show. The mashil watches him that he shouldn't damage others, and the shoyel watches him that nothing should happen to him. That's the story now. In other words, the shoyel accepted upon himself a regular shayla. I'm borrowing, I'm making sure that your object or animal stays safe with me. But anything that the shoyel will do to others, not my realm, not my game, not my thing. That can be done. He did not accept the shmir of Nezikim, right? And therefore, very simple. Therefore, if your shore bully owned by Reuven the owner, if he does anything to my bull, my cutie, my little show, then of course, you'll have to pay me. You, Mr. Owner, are in charge of these nezokim done to my animals. Toises asked even what's the chiddush. It's even a ukimta. Of course, what's the chiddush? Yeah, that's what you wanted to ask, or no? What's the chiddush?
Shimon himself didn't watch his own bull.
That's not my issue, but your shore guard much. No.
If Reuven shore guard Shimon's bull,
No. Yeah.
Shimon shore, and Shimon.
First was in this page. That's the case. Says Toisos, if so, you download the first Toisos in the page. If the shoyel did not accept upon himself to deal with the bad behavior of bully, the borrowed item, then of course it's a regular shore. Reuven, the owner, states the owner regarding Bavakama, regarding looking after his animal, making sure it doesn't harm others. What's the Chiddush? The Yeshlomer, I think you'll be happy, Tzvi. The Yeshlomer answers Tosfos. I would have thought the Shmiras Nizikin the Alma Loy Kabil. When I, the borrower, say I'm not in charge of your animal's bad behavior, that is me versus the rest of the world. If Bully, the bad behaved shore, starts goring Pochachovskis and Levi and other people, then I would say I'm not in charge. You're in charge, Mr. Owner. You stay in charge. Aval and Nizokin the Torah the Shoel Gufei. Nizikin done to my own animal. Of course, I would say that I'm in charge. I would have said, if I know that your bad show comes to my house, or potentially bad to my house, I should make sure to leave my cows safe. I would have thought Shekibel, maybe he did accept the responsibility. I would have said that the mashil would be potul, the mashil would be exempt. The mashmalan, he's not. Let me review everything. I'm not sure if everyone understands what's going on here. Again, the case is as follows. The case is like this. Reuven lent his show. His name is Bully for the case, for today. Reuven lent his show on Sunday to who? To Shimon. Now Shimon says, listen carefully. I learned the halachas of shoel. I know that as a shoel I'm responsible and I have to look after your shore. You know what means looking after your shore? What I mean is, let me just be very clear. I will make sure your shore never gets harmed. Nobody will bully your shore. I'll give it protection like the teacher in the class. I'll make sure a child stays safe. Yeah, very nice. Safe environment. Nothing will happen to it. And I'm responsible for everything and I know it. But if your shore does any vicious things to others, then you, mister, you're responsible. You stay responsible, like you always were, for the bad behavior of your shore. So if your shore does anything bad to other animals from other nearby farms or other cowsheds, you have to pay. You send a messenger, send someone to make sure that your bull doesn't do anything wrong to others. And if not, you have to pay. Now, you know what happened on Monday? Funnily enough, Bully started misbehaving in class on the second day in class, and he started goring the local kids, meaning the local bull, meaning Shimon's bull. Now says Shimon to Reuven, aha, you got to pay, baby. And he's right. Reuven has to pay. Why? It's a chiddush. I would have said maybe Shimon's own bulls he has to guard. Kamash Mala, no. When Shimon says, I want you to stay 100% in compliance with Shmira of your shore, you're responsible for your shore. That includes my shore as well. Then that's a chiddush. That's a chiddush. You are in charge means you're in charge. Responsible all the way. And that's the case. Now we have a problem. As we always say, whenever we explain the Brisa, we have to keep reading the Brisa and see if it fits, if you can tick all the boxes of the Brisa, if it fits into all different mahalach of the Brisa. Ema Seifa, what does it say at the end of the Brisa? Nifretzo balayla. The cowshed was broken into at night. Osha Patur list him during the day, the robbers came, the muggers came, and they broke in the middle of the night, or in the middle of the day even. The Yotzto Bezika went out the animal and was mazit, and it caused damage. It's potu. Who's potu? The shoyel. The shoyel is potur because it's be'oines, and therefore what? The animal damaged others in other farms after it was liberated by the liberators, but the shoydim is potu. Frek the Gemara. It's not pshit at all. Not pshit at all. The diuk is wrong. Habayoim chayev. You want to tell me, wait a second, that if it happened during the day, and let's say the shoyl was poishea in the middle of the day by broad daylight, was sipping his coffee because he wasn't using with Amud, he was looking at his kosher smartphone, and what happens then? The animal went by and was mazik, just whatever, the whole thing happened under his nose, and the animal went and gored others, then he's chayev. That's a diuk here. It's not true. He's not chayev. We just said that the shul is not in charge of anything that the animal does to others. So who cares if it happened by day, night, or in Halloween? Who cares when it happened? At the end of the day, a shoyel is not supposed, in our case, our kind of shoyel, which we just established, said outright, are not responsible for anything your animal does to others. So who cares when it was nifritza? And the animal wasn't damaged. The animal damaged others. And of course it's potu. Yeah, well, how can you say that he's chayiv? How can you allude? How can you? That's what you're saying, that he's chayiv. Because that's what we said. That's a question of the Gemara. Why tell me nifratz balayla potu mashma by day is chayev? Wrong. By day, of course, that's a question. You're asking the Gemara's question. And says the Gemara, no, hachikoma. We have to make another ukimta. In kibel of shmiras nezokov. Now we're back to the other case. If he did accept upon himself the shmiras nezikim, yeah, then he's chayev. That's not a chiddush actually. Which means, let's say accepted upon himself, yes, the shoyl is a regular shoyl, 100% responsibility, insurance of the best type. I'm chayev for both anything done to the animal and anything done by the animal, caused from by the animal. I'm chayev on both. Then, if it's done, if it was broken into during the day and he should have avoided it, and the animal went and gored others and damaged others, of course it's chayiv, and that's actually not a chiddush. But nifratz balayla shepatzua listim, if it was done the oines, middle of the night, or listim broke into the cowshed and took it away, the yotzto ve'zika potu. That is a big chiddush. Why is it a big chiddush? A shoyel, my friends, we say, in this case we say, it was oines, and the animal went in the middle of the night in a way which I couldn't predict, or people came with guns blazing, and they want to free like how they are from the animal society, the SPCA, whatever, there's whatever in England, it's something else, royal, yeah, and they come to free the cow, liberate the cow. What happens then? The animal went against my will, out of my control, and damaged others as a shoyel and potur. You're asking what's a chiddush? You tell me, a regular case of oines by shoyel, potur or chayev? Oines by nezikin, a shoyel is chayev. Let's say those robbers would have come, or lightning came and broke the cowshed, or earthquake, and all ran away, and then the cow would have been damaged. Somebody else would gore it, the shoyel would be chayev. A shoyel chayev be'oinsin. Big red letters, kita dalid. Yeah, a shoyel is chayev be'oinsin. It's a chiddush. Kamash malan. When do we say shoyel is chayev on anything, under any circumstances? Even shoyel, like you mentioned a few days ago, that's by what? That's when we say when it's things were done to it, it was damaged. Now that it's damaged others, it's different standards, and that's a chiddush. If your animal damaged others, I'm not chayev like a shoyel, I'm chayev like a regular shoymer, and therefore it was done by oines, I'm potu. That's definitely a chiddush. Okay. Now we're going back to the original machlokas. Remember what was machlokas between Rav Chisda and Rav Lozo? The machlokas was, what about a shared property of the mazik and the nizak? Let's say there's a place where both mazik and nizak can put their stuff. They own it, they rented it together, and now one of them, his show, stepped all over the fruit of the other one. So Rav Chisda says chayev. It's considered like the reshus, like the domain of the nizak, and according to Rav Lozo, says no, it's like reshus harabim. Common domain means everyone can do everything. It's not everyone, it's Reuben and Shimon. It's just the two of us here in the case. It's like reshus harabim and Ampotu. Frag the Gemara, Eini. Now we're going to attack Rav Lozo. Ratani Rav Yosef. Rav Yosef says the following. Rav Yosef says, Chotzer shutfim, a chotzer belonging to two shutofim, the pundak, what's a pundak? It's an inn, hotel, inn. The seder, chayev, very nice. Chayev ben al Shen Regel. Motel is more American, yeah? So, a chotzer shutfim, a pundak, yeah? And is chayev ben al Shen Regel. What's a motel? What's an inn? Says Rashi. Important to see the definition by the Gemara. Please look at Rashi. Rashi is in second line. Very good. Pundak, says Rashi. Bais Godol. It's a large house. People, all kinds of guests and achsanoin. Some people say the soichrim. A lot of merchants would go there. It's a place for merchants. They would go travel from place to place like a khan. And in the middle of the desert, they would have, they would have a place to stay. Lolun go to sleep. If one damaged the other, he's chayiv. It's not like a common place, like in the middle of the street. Not everyone can just enter the inn, guests only. It's like a guests only area. Not everyone can just trample and do whatever they want over there. Boy. Yeah, it's only exclusive for guests only. It's a fancy place. I don't know, Waldorf Astoria. Only the guests can come. Yes, I don't know. Yeah, it's considered like the other's field. It's like a private field. They live there because they pay money. They pay, I don't know, 1,000 shekels a night or so. And therefore it's considered a Reshus HaYochid, and they have to pay. But that's a Shutzvim. Not only one person lives there. The guests of the hotel, let's say there are 20 guests in the hotel. That's very big for all-time Khan. Yeah, 20 people are there. It's for those 20 people only. Not everyone can come with this cow. And therefore, it's considered as exclusive, as private enough. It's a Shus HaYochid of the Nizak. And therefore, in the case of Shen Regel, the owner of the cow that stepped into the lobby of the hotel, can you imagine a cow entering the Waldorf Astoria and it's trampling over the food over there, starts eating from the buffet? Do you think the owner would have to pay? I don't know. So then you have to hang him in the middle of the street. So then what would be the case? That's the case over here. So you chayev because it is exclusive enough to be called Reshus HaNizak. So now, it's a question of Belozo. Belozo says that the place which is Meshutaf to post Mazik and Nizak, then is like Reshus Habim your potter. And here you see your chayev. Belozo. Do you think Mesnisa Miloy Pligi? You think the Mishnahs all agree to each other? You bring a Mishnah against me? I have a Mishnah in my back pocket. I have a supporter. His name is another Mishnah. Tanya, it says in the Brisa, important. Rabbi Shimon says that there are 4 different rules. Really, it's 4 different either rules or domains or rules to do with domains. There are 4 different issues to do the different domains, not for Shabbos, but for Nezikin. Let's see. Let's say a person damaged in a Reshus, or his animal, I would say, damaged in a place of the Nizak, exclusive for the Nizak, your house, private field, that's not owned by the Mazik or by anybody else. It says in big red letters, private property, is chayv on everything. Here I'm going to throw a bombshell. Please don't faint. Chayv b'kol. I'll ask you a very simple question. Is chayv on Shen Regel? Is it chayv on keren? Keren is chayv everywhere, by the way. Keren, there's no place you're not chayv. One American astronaut, another American astronaut in the moon, and one cow on the moon, or the other, chayv and keren. No place keren is potur. Now the chiddush is, what's chayv? Kol chayv and everything. Listen to this. Here comes the chiddush, according to Rashi, quoting the Gemara later on. What happens if a show tamale kitzale, he gored my show, in my possession, in my backyard? Are you chayv? Of course. He chayv nezek sholem. Wow. According to some Tanoim, the tour of short tam is only when it's like fair grounds, like neutral grounds. But if you came to my place uninvited, so not only you chayv on everything, you chayv nezek sholem. You chayv nezek sholem in the chotzer of the nizak. Yeah, why? That's a good question, but it sort of makes sense. In my domain, you came to my domain, everything is worse. It's not in the middle of the street. It's my home field. And then we're going to learn later the reasons. I'm just telling you now the fact. This is only the akdama. Tam is chayv nezek sholem. Question, come home and ask your wives. Darling, when is a short tam chayv nezek sholem? If she wouldn't know, you tell her in the chotzer of the nizak. Wow, she'll appreciate you. Yeah, chayv in the chotzer of the nizak, nezek sholem, even though it's tam. That's domain number 1. Number 2, the mazik v'loy lenizak. Now you have to know it yourselves. Let's say I'm the mazik, I have a bad bull, I know him as a shigana, and I have a bad dog, and I have a snake, and I have a, I don't know, iguana, all kinds of things. Your animal came to my house uninvited. You came to my house uninvited. How much do I have to pay you? What? Gurnish. A good Ashkenazi answer. Gurnish mit nicht. The mazik v'lo lenizak potur mikol. That's the other extreme. At the domain of the mazik, who invited you to my house? If you were invited, it's different, or different cases. We'll see later on in the Gemara. People come to collect the money. But Lamaisa, if you're not invited, not expected, it's not the norm that people come to the middle of the house all of a sudden, not knocking, whatever. What are you doing here? Now that's the second domain. Third domain, number 3. לזה ולזה, כגון חוצר השותפים והביקה, לזה ולזה חוצר השותפים והביקה. That's our case, guys. That's our case. Yeah? What's the case? Common shared domain of like the bika. What's a bika? Bika is a few valleys together. It's like a plain with a few fields one next to the other. Then, but it's commonly shared by us. Poto ba'al Shen Regel. Did you hear that? It's poto on Shen Regel, like a blazer. Here a blazer is smiling away. It's poto on Shen Regel. Why poto on Shen Regel? Because we see a common domain, common place belongs to both of them, and it is like Reshus Harabim. Reshus Harabim, you're potter on trampling or eating. These are the 5 toldos of keren: goring, pushing, biting, crouching, kicking. Sounds like a gym. It's like a gym. Cheder kosher over here, yeah? So what happens then? Tam mishalem chatzi nezek, mod mishalem nezek sholem. Like a regular Reshus Harabim. It's not a commonplace. It is common. It's a Reshus Harabim, and you pay regular tam muad. Like Ellen was saying, that's a tam muad tam hef. Is that? Now comes the fourth case. Yeah, comes the fourth case. Excuse me. Now comes the fourth one. A place that does not belong to both. I would have thought it means one that belongs to neither of them. There, Reuven and Shimon, and their Shvarim had a fight by Levi's in a different kid's house. They were fighting, yeah, in a play date. But that's not the case here. Let's see what it says in the Brisa. If they were in a different place, Chayav bo al Shen ba al Regel al Negicha al Shen Regel full. There's a certain place here, we don't know where yet, where you Chayav on Shen Regel, and al Negicha al Neshicha al Negifa al Revitza al Beita tam mishalem chatzi nezek. On a tam keren you pay half. Muad mishalem nezek sholem. That fourth case, we said that this place is it means it belongs to the nizak. It's a repetition. It's a very strange brisa. It's a place that doesn't belong to both of them, belongs to one of them, the nizak. The place of the nizak, we say you chayav for Shen Regel, and for tam you chayav half. It's a stira. Before we said that the place belonging to the nizak, you chayav nezek sholem. Now you say the place belonging to the nizak, you only have to pay half for tam. That's a question. In any event, one thing we see clear, and that's all right now, all we want to siphon from that brisa is what? Support for a blazer. I'm standing here with a sign. Support for a blazer. Yeah, Rav Lozer found support in the brisa. Why? This brisa said Mefurish Lakim that in the case of Bika, a place like the field, like the plain, belonging to both of them, what happens then? Potu, it's like Reshus Harabim. So here, one brisa is like one of the brises is like of Chizda, the other one is Rav Lozer. So let's leave the Amoraim alone for a minute. Let's now focus on the big guns. All attention now, all the limelight is where? But it's annoying. Frag the Gemara in the first wide line, Kasha Adodi. The brisa seems to contradict each other. Of course, we can say it's a machloikes, but we don't like to say machloikes unless we have to. The brisas are not exactly in tandem with each other. Answers the Gemara, and I want to say something now about examples. Sometimes when I give examples, they're not exactly 100% accurate. Sometimes people misunderstand me, so I try in the past few years to be more careful. Here, the brisa brought 2 examples, and now let's harp on those examples. I want you guys to know the answer. In the first brisa, what was the example that was brought for a place which is commonly owned by everyone or shared by everyone? Shared space, like you have this for a working place today, people who work with a computer. Let's say you have a shared space of the hotel lobby. What did we say in that brisa? Your shore came in and stepped over my fruit. Chayav. This which we see a common domain is like nizak, like a private domain. Then came the other brisa, a common place like the valley with the fields in it, not the valley in LA, yeah, the valley of fields. What happens then? We say that potter Reshus Harabim, but it's a stira. What are the examples? One of them is the Waldorf Astoria. One of them is the field in the middle of the Golan. Spot the differences. Every person would know, everyone would know, there's a difference between Waldorf and the field in the middle of the Golan, right? Let's see the difference. The brisa that was nice and exempt you from paying was a place which is meyuchad, meaning both parties are allowed to put the fruit over there on the floor, and both of them are allowed to also have the bulls walking around. Then it's considered Shus Rabim. What are you coming to me like blaming me? Your shore stepped all over my fruit. All shvarim are allowed to be here. It's not the Waldorf Astoria. It's a bika. It's a place in the Golan where shvarim walk all over, and the fruit don't walk. The fruit are sprawled all over. Make sure your fruit. That's Shus Rabim. Masho is allowed to be there. It's a normal place for shvarim to be. Haida of Yosef. The one that was more machmir says bechotza miyuchedes leperos ve'ein miyuchedes l'shvorim. Of Yosef that was mechayev in payment says nishlazoi. That's talking about a different case. It's a place where people are allowed to display their fruit on the floor or on nice marble tables, but it's not a place where animals are supposed to walk. It's commonly shared, but not by our bulls. It's like a shuk. No, it's like the hotel room. I'll still explain what it is. A shuk, the shvorim are allowed to be. This is a place where shvorim are not allowed to be. It's in the middle of the hotel lobby where I don't think oxen are welcome. You want to try? Each one of us will take our ox and we'll walk into the Waldorf Astoria. Speak Yiddish Hashem. 1 minute. I'll do it in a second. We have to finish the idea and then I'll hear you 100%. The Lagabe Shen, Havel Chotzer and Isaac. Regarding Shen, it's Chotzer and Isaac. Why? Because this is a place where people are only supposed to display the fruit, put the fruit on the floor, on the table. That's where the soichrim are, the merchants. It's not a place where they allow oxen to come in or other animals, no dogs allowed. And therefore, it's chotzer and nizak. Therefore, it's like exclusively owned, not by the nizak, not the mazik. It's exclusively owned, not by the shvarim. And therefore, over there, of course, you are chayiv. Daikanami. Now the Gemara says what I told you before. It's meduyak. The words are exact over here. Tiktani also do me the pundak. Over here, when he talks about pundak, Jeffrey, we're saying like this: a pundak is not a fancy Waldorf Astoria. A pundak is a place, as Rashi, where the soichrim are. The merchants are there. Says Rashi, en miuchad l'shvarim lefisha. It's Rashi is more or less where we are now. They were master of Yosef. Yeah, lefisha sham unachas pragmatis shel soichrim. The good, very fine, beautiful schoire of the merchants is there on display in the middle of the lobby. They don't allow the cows to go there. It's not like India. They want them to push and make the kelim dirty. Yeah, I'm displaying my beautiful Swarovski vase and jewelry, and the bull is going to, make all over the place. What are you talking about? Shvarim not allowed to be there. In such a place, of course, you show his chayin. It's like a shusayachid. But in the place of the bika, continues the Gemara. But but also, do me the bika, shmamino. The place where I'm potter on my show coming in is a place like a field. A field says Rashi roim sham shvorim. That's normal for shvorim, for oxen to graze over there, to be roya. It's the middle. That's nature. That's where else you want them to be. And mimel over there we say that you are potter because that's a shus harabim. Unfortunately, we didn't finish today. But
Rabbi also agrees that
that's between the Tanoim. The Gemara is going to ask soon, but I think that will be tomorrow, exactly how do the Amoraim stand? Did the Amoraim also not argue? Do we say that the Amoraim also actually not argue because they just talk in different cases? He speaks about the plaza, and he talks about a place in the Golan, which is full of dung. Is that the case? And really there's no argument with Rav Elazar and Rav Chizda? Or maybe there is an argument. Cliffhanger. We must come tomorrow to hear the rest of it, blood, spine chilling. And tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to find the answer. Mitzvah Hashem should come soon. And I have to tell you something interesting that I heard. I'm going to do in the recording. If you want to, maybe you heard it already. My wife heard it. I'll stop. Goodbye, everybody.